Alex Thompson promised Priya Singh the stars over Toronto. Instead, on their wedding night, he gave her 3 bullets in front of 300 screaming guests, all because of a DNA test that proved the baby wasn't his, or so he wanted the world to believe. In the spring of 2022, Toronto was alive with cherry blossoms when Alex Thompson, a quiet 32-year-old software engineer from a small Ontario town, attended a downtown tech conference on digital creativity. There, amid glowing screens and coffee-fueled chatter, he noticed Priya Singh presenting her portfolio of vibrant, Bollywood-inspired graphics. At 28, Priya had left Mumbai only a year earlier on a work visa, carrying big dreams and a suitcase full of color. Their first conversation lasted hours. He loved her fearless use of color, she admired his clean, precise code. They exchanged numbers and, within weeks, were inseparable. Weekends became a beautiful collision of cultures. Alex learned to love spicy pav bhaji on Devon Avenue. Priya discovered poutine and ice hockey. They walked the distillery district holding hands, took the ferry to the Toronto Islands, and spent nights on his balcony watching planes descend over Lake Ontario. When Priya missed her period in early autumn, a home test confirmed the news. Overwhelmed but happy, they decided marriage was the next step. Alex proposed one freezing November night beneath a faint display of the northern lights visible just north of the city, dropping to one knee with a simple diamond ring. Priya cried, nodding yes before he finished the question. Plans for a summer wedding began immediately, 300 guests, 2 ceremonies, one love story everyone believed would last forever. Behind Alex's warm smile, however, a tiny shadow of doubt had already taken root, unnoticed by the woman who was planning their future. By winter 2022, the wedding countdown had begun, but Alex's excitement slowly curdled into obsession. Priya's phone now lived face down on tables, its screen lighting up with messages she quickly silenced. She blamed deadlines and family back in Mumbai, yet the calls always came after midnight. Alex started waking at 3 a.m. to check her location history, noticing late-night drives to unfamiliar addresses in Brampton. He told himself it was protectiveness, nothing more. In January, he paid a private investigator $3,000 cash to watch her. The man delivered grainy photos, Priya laughing outside a Mississauga cafe with a tall stranger, her hand resting on the same belly that was supposed to carry Alex's child. Old Instagram posts surfaced too, Priya tagged at Marine Drive with that same man the previous year, captioned with heart emojis. Alex's stomach twisted. He ordered a covert prenatal DNA kit online, the kind advertised to anxious fathers-to-be. During a routine ultrasound appointment he insisted on attending, he distracted the nurse long enough to swab the collection tube himself while Priya looked away, tears in her eyes from the cold gel. He mailed the samples under a fake name and requested rush delivery for the exact wedding morning. Every night he rehearsed 2 futures, one where the results proved his fears wrong and he burned the envelope unopened, another where the truth gave him justification for whatever came next. Priya, meanwhile, spent evenings folding tiny onesies and choosing between red or ivory for her lehenga, completely unaware that the man measuring her finger for a wedding band was already measuring her life in evidence. June 17, 2023, dawned warm and golden over Lake Simcoe. The lakeside resort glittered with thousands of marigolds flown in from India and white roses trucked from Niagara. 300 guests filled the chairs, Priya's aunts in shimmering saris, Alex's co-workers in linen suits, children waving tiny Canadian and Indian flags. Priya appeared at the end of the aisle like fire made flesh, her red lehenga heavy with gold embroidery, the bump beneath it proudly rounded at 6 months. Alex waited beneath a floral mandip draped in maple leaves, handsome in midnight blue, his smile practiced and perfect. The ceremonies blended seamlessly, the Sikh Anand carriage in the morning, circling the Guru Granth Sahib 4 times, the civil vows at sunset, rings exchanged beneath strings of fairy lights. Laughter rose with the clink of champagne and the beat of doll drums merging with a live string quartet. Priya's father toasted their future, Alex's mother wiped tears. Everyone agreed it was the most beautiful wedding Ontario had ever seen. At 9:12 p.m., just after the cake cutting, a resort staff member in a crisp black vest approached Alex with a small padded envelope. The courier label read only, "A.T. Personal." Alex excused himself, walked calmly past the dessert table, and slipped into the groom's dressing room. He locked the door, tore the seal, and unfolded the single sheet. Probability of paternity, 0%. The paper shook in his hand. Every doubt, every midnight drive, every suspicious smile now had a number. When he stepped back into the hall minutes later, the music was loud, the lights low, and the gun he had hidden inside his tuxedo jacket months earlier felt suddenly weightless against his ribs. The DJ switched to a high-energy Bhangra remix, and the dance floor exploded with color. Priya stood near the center, glowing under purple lights, one hand cradling her belly while the other waved a sparkler. Alex moved through the crowd like a ghost, parting guests without touching them. When he reached the small stage, the music seemed to fade inside his head. He pulled the envelope from his pocket, held it up so Priya could see the single damning line, then let it fall like confetti. The first shot cracked louder than the bass. Priya's eyes widened in confusion before the second bullet spun her sideways. The third sent her crashing into the wedding cake, red velvet and blood mixing across white fondant. For one frozen second the room made no sound at all, only the slow-motion collapse of a bride in gold and crimson. Then came the screams, raw and animal, as tables overturned and heels snapped in the stampede. A child's balloon popped like a fourth gunshot. Someone knocked over the chocolate fountain, it poured across the marble like dark blood. Alex stood motionless above her, the pistol dangling at his side, smoke curling from the barrel. Security guards pushed through the chaos, shouting commands he no longer heard. Priya's father reached her first, pressing both hands to the wounds as if love could hold her together. By the time paramedics arrived 8 minutes later, her pulse had already stopped. The unborn boy never took his first breath. Outside, red and blue lights painted the lake while inside the hall, marigolds floated in pools of champagne and blood, the perfect wedding now perfect evidence. In the cold light of interrogation rooms, Alex's story collapsed within 48 hours. The DNA lab had no record of the samples he submitted. The return address on the envelope traced to a rented mailbox he opened under a fake name. Technicians found traces of his own epithelial cells deliberately mixed into the fetal sample, a crude attempt to force a non-match. The private investigator was real, but the photographs were doctored on Alex's laptop using timestamps altered, faces swapped using software he wrote himself. Deeper searches uncovered the truth he had buried for years, a secret vasectomy at 27 after watching his mother die of postpartum complications. He never told Priya, never intended to be a father, yet accepted the pregnancy as the perfect mask. Bank records revealed $280,000 in underground poker losses and a $3 million life insurance policy on Priya taken out 4 months earlier, beneficiary listed as Alex alone. The courier, who delivered the envelope, was his sister Melissa, caught on security footage removing the fake lab badge minutes after the shooting. At trial, the prosecutor laid out the timeline like a horror film in reverse, every loving gesture calculated, every cultural fusion a prop. Alex showed no emotion when the jury returned in under 3 hours. Life without parole. Priya's parents flew her ashes back to Mumbai in a small clay urn, scattering them in the same Arabian Sea where the photoshopped pictures had once been taken. In Toronto, the resort demolished the blood-stained hall. Nothing grows where marigolds once floated in champagne turned red. 18 months later, a thin envelope arrived at Halton Regional Detention Center addressed to inmate 229847. No return label, Mumbai postmark. Inside was a single photograph, Priya's mother standing on Marine Drive at sunset, scattering the last handful of ashes into the wind. On the back, written in careful English, "She forgave you the moment she understood. We never will." Alex stared at it for days. Guards noticed he stopped eating, stopped speaking. In the prison infirmary they found a diary hidden inside his mattress, pages filled with frantic calculations, odds of getting caught, insurance payout timelines, the exact weight of the gun in ounces. The final entry, dated the night before he was moved to solitary, read only, "I killed the only person who ever saw me clearly, and she still smiled at me when the first bullet hit." Across the ocean, Priya's father quietly funded a scholarship in her name for young Indian women studying design in Canada. Every year on June 17, recipients receive a small package, a red silk envelope containing marigold seeds and a note that says, "Plant these wherever you feel afraid. Beauty can grow after fire." In Toronto, the demolished hall became a community garden. Children now chase butterflies between rows of scarlet flowers that bloom every summer, brighter than blood, louder than gunshots. No plaque marks what happened there. Some stories are better remembered in petals than in stone. Years after the garden took root, a true crime podcaster named Simran Kaur received an anonymous email containing a 2019 voice memo from Priya's phone. In it, Priya laughed softly and told a friend she suspected Alex couldn't have children. She had found an old medical bracelet in his drawer from a clinic that performed vasectomies. She said she didn't care, that she loved him enough to adopt later, that some men carry shame heavier than truth. The memo ended with Priya whispering, "If he ever finds out I know, promise you'll tell my baby I chose love anyway." The file spread quietly across Reddit and TikTok. Overnight, public memory flipped. Alex was no longer the betrayed groom, he became the man who murdered a woman for loving the version of him he was too afraid to show. Old wedding guests came forward with new details, Priya excusing his moods, paying his secret debts from her freelance savings, planning to surprise him with adoption papers the morning after the honeymoon. In 2028, the scholarship recipients planted a second garden on the grounds of the University of Toronto. They named it Priya's Grove. Every spring, thousands of marigolds bloom in perfect circles that, from above, spell her name in silent gold. Visitors leave red threads tied to the fence, wishes for women who forgive too much, love too loudly, and die for it. Alex still receives one postcard every year on June 17. Same handwriting, same words, the flowers remember. He no longer opens them. By 2031, the case had become required reading in Canadian criminology classes. Arc v. Thompson, the textbook example of intimate partner femicide disguised as honor killing. Professors played the silent security footage on loop, 3 muzzle flashes, Priya's body folding like silk, Alex standing over her as if waiting for applause that never came. Students left the lecture halls pale, some crying in the hallway. That same year, a quiet documentary titled Marigolds After Midnight premiered at TIFF. It contained one piece of footage no one knew existed, a hidden nanny-cam Priya had installed in their apartment months before the wedding. She never told anyone why. The final clip, dated 2 nights before the ceremony, showed Alex sitting alone at the kitchen table at 4 a.m., practicing how he would hold the fake DNA envelope, rehearsing the exact moment he would pull the trigger. He mouthed the words, "I'm sorry," over and over, tears falling onto the forged lab report, then wiped them away and practiced his calm smile in the reflection of a knife. The film ended with drone footage of Priya's grove at sunrise. 10,000 marigolds turned their faces to the light, glowing like small fires refusing to go out. The credits rolled over audio of Priya's laugh from that 2019 voice memo, bright, forgiving, immortal. In his cell, Alex requested the television be removed. He now spends visiting hours staring at the same blank wall where the flowers still remember.